pleasure in welcoming you all here this afternoon. The farmers of Lambasa extend to you, sirs, a very warm welcome and wish you all the best during your meeting with them. And we look forward to your continued assistance. We would appreciate if the government, in conjunction with FSC, look us year and year after. Once this problem is resolved,
I want to address you all this afternoon and say thank you for coming in numbers. Bulaminaka, and a very good afternoon to you all. I have my government officials here with me. The Attorney General is here. The rest of the cabinet ministers are here. The two permanent secretaries are here. I will introduce them to you later on. And of course, government officials, Commissioner Western and his officials. Sorry, Commissioner Northern and his officials are here. But I've come to see you all to explain face to face what we are doing to solve some of the challenges our industry is facing. And in particular to counter some of the lies that are being spread in our sugarcane growing areas about what is happening and what the future holds, not only for the sugar industry, but for also to take out some uncertainty that's been spread around the country by politicians. But before I do, I want to say as Prime Minister, how pleased and proud I am to be in Lambasa with some of the most hardworking people in Fiji, you, the sugarcane farmers. 5 months ago, the greater western part of Fiji was badly hit by Cyclone Winston. We all know that. And some of you have also experienced gusts of strong wind here in Lambasa. As you all know how severely the western side was damaged by the cyclone and the amount of work required to help the needy in the shortest possible time. My government made every effort to assist those in need with the initiative Help for Homes that has helped many Fijians to rebuild their homes. This initiative has never been done by any other government, because not only this initiative, a whole lot of the initiatives we've come up with, no one has ever done. No other government has ever done that previously. We've spent about $88 million so far on this initiative, and we have allocated another $20 million in the new budget year to help those who may have missed out in the first round. A few years ago when I came online, when I came on board with my government, we had a couple of floods, we had a couple of hurricanes, and I was shocked to find out that when the government gave out the assistance to rebuild homes, no Indo-Fijians was included in this rebuilding of homes. So I made sure that my government insisted that we rebuild homes for everyone. Anyway, we have allocated another $20 million in the new budget year to help those who may have missed out in the first round. And we have also allocated in the new budget, as you may have heard from the Minister for Economy, $205 million to rebuild all the schools, to rebuild health centers, rebuild public facilities, and to assist in agriculture and fisheries rehabilitation. I'm here to talk to you about a number of issues that affect you, both personally and as cane farmers. And I do so as someone who takes great pride in improving the circumstances of ordinary Fijians like yourself. In order for you to participate equally in the Fijian economy, as you're doing now, in order for you to participate equally in the Fijian economy, you first of all have to be treated as equal citizens of our country. No one has ever done that before, especially Indo-Fijian farmers. No one has ever treated you equally like I did and my government did. First of all, you have to be treated equal citizens of our country. And this is what my government has given you. Because under the 2013 Constitution, you are no longer second-class citizens. We are now all called Fijians. Don't go get anyone to come and lie to you about that. I know many of you are descendants of the Girmitians who were subjected to the harshest of conditions. The prejudice Indo-Fijians suffered stretched through colonial times and into independent Fiji, because as I've said, this is the mentality that was alive then. But many of you suffered a great deal during the coups of 1987 and 2000. But I'm proud to say that those bad days are gone. Through the Constitution, we have a common and equal citizenry. And enjoying equal rights has been very important for human dignity and the lives of every Fijian. Now that everyone is equal in the eyes of our supreme law, when you give assistance, it also has to be given equally, on the basis of merit, and especially on the basis of the need. And I again remind you of the assistance that we gave after the hurricanes and flood when we came in, when we found out that the assistance was not equal in its sharing before that. To improve the lives of every Fijian, my government is spending a great deal of amount of money on roads, on water, on electricity, and other services. I know some of you still have not access to electricity or piped water, but many of you now enjoy the services for the first time. But you also know that the government officials are working hard at getting these services to you. And my government will continue its program of extending them to as many people as possible across the country. We have also provided a lot of money for education, for schooling and scholarships and tertiary loans to enable many of our young people, your children and your grandchildren, to gain access to higher learning. Guess what? When they get educated, they go out and become doctors and lawyers and pilots. So, because there's been a lot of complaint lately about no one staying back to farm. It's because our children and grandchildren are now educated. We have also, for example, in the new budget year, the government has allocated $10.63 million for the National Topper Scheme, an increase of $630,000 from last year's allocation. This also means that there are 30 additional places which will be awarded in the new budget year for top students to compete for. We also continue with the tertiary education loans, the TELS program, and this year we have set aside $42.5 million for this scheme. Someone once came up with a figure of $50 million, somebody's father-in-law, to have free education in Fiji, free. Don't believe this guy. He's known in Parliament to be plucking figures from nowhere. Such initiatives are part of my government's efforts for improving our education system and making it more affordable for ordinary Fijians, so that they can get their qualifications in their respective fields of interest. These qualifications, as I've said, are opening up all sorts of possibilities for ordinary Fijians to get better jobs. They become pilots, they become lawyers, they become doctors, they become nurses, and they start their own businesses and participate widely in building our economy. We have also given low-income earners access to free medicine, and I know that all of you, most of you, if not all of you, are entitled to free medicine, and given the elderly pensions for the first time. On that note, I found out that a lot of cane farmers do not know that these pensions are available for them. I found out in one of the functions I attended. I think, Commissioner, maybe your staff can assist in spreading the word about what's available to everyone in Fiji. So what we're trying to do is produce a fairer society. We create a fairer society, a more equal society, in which even the poorest family has an opportunity to improve its circumstances. A lot of people, of you too, don't know that we subsidize electricity, we subsidize water for you. When it comes to the sugarcane industry, there was no question that it was in steady decline until my government intervened to put it on a better footing. For example, the amount of cane needed to produce sugar has been drastically reduced by making the process more efficient. The tons cane to tons sugar, TCT, as you know it, just a few years ago was about 13 or 14. Now it's just a little over 8. Friends, before my government took office, our sugar mills were literally falling apart. And if you remember, the previous government had engaged some Indian companies to refurbish those mills, but the result was not good. I remember saying this in public, that we took out a loan of $85 million from the Indian Exim Bank to purchase this mill, or these mill parts, only to find out that only 50% of these mill parts work, and out of that 50% that work, only 50% of the time. So it's practically money thrown into the sea. So we had to direct additional resources to save those mills and make them more efficient. To ensure the renewal of sugarcane leases, we spend about $9 million a year to assist those farmers whose leases have expired or expiring. And we are paying a top-up of 4% above the 6% paid to the TLTB to provide landowners with an incentive to renew those leases. This is what we call a CBUL program, and we give the landowners an additional 4% that the TLTB gives them. The government gives the landowners another 4%, so that it's an incentive for them to give those people that want lease to farm. There's been a lot of talk about not enough being done for the sugarcane industry, especially in the wake of the 2 new bills that are now before a standing committee of parliament. Certain opposition politicians, as I said, and former politicians have been spreading a lot of misinformation about what is in these 2 bills. They claim the bills will take away the rights of cane farmers. They even say that the bills are forcing farmers into another gyrmid, that ridiculous notion, I say, that insults the memories of those who genuinely suffered when they were first brought to Fiji. These people who have come before the committee have been making all sorts of wild comments. They have caused a great deal of misunderstanding about what is in those bills, and they have done it in a manner that is very irresponsible. Unfortunately, I have to say to you today that a lot of the comments that have been made by people like Mahen Chaudhary, Prem Singh and Biman Prasad and others are completely false to do with the bill. As usual, they are trying to politicize the sugarcane industry, never ending, for their own political gain. In particular, they are using you to drive a wedge between you and I, to create distrust, to create uncertainty in the public at large. But I know it's not going to work, because you know I've always been there for you. I've always served their best interests. And I want to assure you all today that I will never use you in the way they are using you for my own political gain. I will never exploit you, and I will always be straight with you. If something cannot be done, I will tell you so. I have and always be honest with you always. And I can assure you that those bills, these bills will not adversely affect you as individual cane farmers. And remember that their rights will always be protected under the Constitution. These politicians are misleading you that the government will run the FSC. This is not true, as the bill gives the right to government to buy the shares from the shareholders that have not contributed any funding during the difficult days of FSC. It does not mean we're going to come down and run the mill. There are a couple of amendments that I will bring about in the bill. For example, registered growers. Registered growers will no longer have to pay a fee for having their farm registered or changing their record, changing their records. That provision will be removed. In relation to the Cane Growers Council, I know some of the politicians have been pushing for elections. But as you know, that has been very detrimental to the interests of the industry. Instead, we will expand the membership of the council. I'm sure you all agree that a council that is not politicized will perform a lot better. The last thing we want to do when we want to settle an issue with you cane farmers and the sugar cane industry is to have all the political parties fighting. So I will be increasing the membership of the council by ensuring that each district will be represented on the council. Furthermore, this expanded council will be required by law to consult all the growers through their sectors and districts on a regular basis. One of the requirements that we want to put in the amendment to the bill is that the Cane Growers Council must, on a regular basis, the Cane Growers Council must, on a regular basis, go out and consult all the growers. The other significant aspect of the bill that we're going to change is to remove the section on industrial disputes. As you know, since 1984, a provision was put in place to treat farmers like employees by bringing them under an industrial dispute mechanism. This was like going back to the colonial times, and the law has been in place since 1984. Unfortunately, this provision was carried through in the bill, but I will now take this part out. This means that if you decide not to plant or harvest your cane, that will be your choice. Whether it is a protest or not, we are empowering you to make the decision for yourself. If your neighbor wants to harvest and cultivate, that will be his choice. So, friends, these are some of the changes we are making. I know some of the politicians are claiming that the tribunal is not independent, but that is simply not true. The tribunal is appointed by the Chief Justice. Some people are also claiming that the current master ward will be changed as soon as the bill becomes law. Take it from me. That is not going to happen. The current master ward will continue. However, which is very important, in any further negotiations regarding the master ward, the Growers Council must have an input. The FSC must have an input. The public must have an input. And the law forces the minister to make sure that the new master ward cannot be implemented without the consent of the Growers Council and the FSC. So all these protections are there for you in the law. Let me now announce some of the initiatives that we will be undertaking over the next couple of months to help you as cane growers. As I said over the last couple of days during consultations, as chair of the TLTB, I have directed the TLTB and also Lands Department to ensure that for all leases that are expiring, the lessee must be told 5 years in advance whether the lease is to be extended or not renewed. Members of TLTB here in Lands Department, remember that. Okay? TLTB government officials, please put up your hands. Government officials here, TLTB, and members of TLTB and Lands Department. Okay. Now you've heard me say that. That has also been in the papers. The lessee must be told 5 years in advance whether the lease is to be extended or not renewed. No longer will the farmers be in danger of finding out just before the lease expires that you have to leave. This gives you certainty and enables the farmer to make proper plans to find somewhere else to live. And it is about giving leaseholders security and peace of mind to enable them to properly manage their lives, their affairs in their lives. I also want to announce that the TLTB has set aside $500,000 to be matched by the government with another $500,000 to assist the tenants who are disadvantaged, who are behind in their rent. There is specific assistance for elderly cane farming, and we will pay leases for them. The TLTB, of which I'm the chairman, has also agreed to set aside another $1 million to assist those people who hold leases and who have been affected by Cyclone Winston. This will go towards the payment of their leases, and more details on this will be released in the next few weeks. I also want to announce today that government will provide replanting assistance to those farmers who have been affected by Cyclone Winston. As you know, my government has allocated $11 million to the replanting effort, and cyclone victims will be given first priority. However, upon finalization of the total hectares damage, we estimate that about $2,000 a hectare will be given, $2,000 a hectare will be given to its recipient. Based on current figures, we are looking at about $9 million being given to cane farmers who have been affected by Cyclone Winston, but it can also assist other farmers for the replanting on existing cane fields, not just fallow land. We've talked about burning of cane in the last couple of days. It is a growing problem, and we are responding to the needs of those farmers whose crop is burned. If you are targeted, you can now report the burning to the nearest police post. The nearest police post, you don't have to go to the police station. All you have to do is go to the nearest police post. You previously could not do that, now you can. And the FSC will also come to your assistance by working closely with you to take your cane to the mill as quickly as possible. I know there's also concern about the condition of cane access roads. We are going to have that fixed. We have funds available from the EU, and I've been told that 92% of the roads have been fixed, but we need to work on that some more. During the 4 days of consultation, many of you here will come up with these same issues, but I want to tell you this. During the 4 days of the consultation, there are many concerns that have been brought about. One is the cane payment system. 2 is the payment of grant. 3, the high cost of harvesting cane. 4, the lack of consultation, advice, and assistance from sugarcane growers and staff of FSC. The effects of drought and the need for water pumps, the need for boreholes, poor drainage, straight cattle damaging your farm, cane transportation systems, and more. All these issues that we've gathered over the last 4 days, I've given into the hands of the permanent secretary and the new chairman of FSC to handle. And I want to say that we are very fortunate to secure the services of Mr. Vishnu Mohan to take over his chair of the FSC and assist the CEO and the FSC board. He will work closely with you farmers in sorting out all the issues that I've just talked about. And I'm sure, I have no doubt that all of you here are going to bring about questions or issues of this nature. Mr. Mohan is a distinguished banker who headed the Pacific Regional Operation of the ANZ Bank. He has also had experience as a commodity trader. I know some people have said that he's only a banker, what does he know about sugarcane? But the modern day sugarcane industry isn't just about production. It's about marketing. And we need to make a bigger effort to find new markets and give our growers the best possible return. It's about running our mills efficiently. And I'm convinced that Mr. Mohan has the skills to take our industry to another level. And part of his job, as I said, will be to provide over the improvement in the way the FSC deals with the people in the industry. And I look forward to him starting his new role on the 8th of August. So with these announcements, I want to assure you all that the sugar industry is here to stay. As you may have read news or watched TV during our parliamentary sessions, some politicians on the opposite side speak as if the sugar industry is going to collapse tomorrow and the world is going to collapse the day after. These politicians have nothing positive to contribute or motivate you as our farmers except criticism. It does not help you with the negative stories the critics are peddling. I hear they're having pocket meetings and spreading a lot of misinformation, but take no notice. We are here to support you, and we are determined to do so. My new permanent secretary, Yogesh is here. Yogesh Karan will be working very closely with the permanent secretary for agriculture. The new permanent for agriculture, Jiten Singh. As you know, we brought Jiten along because there are greater opportunities for other forms of food production in sugar producing areas. So if you want to do other things besides cane farming, please see Jiten. Unlike my opponents, ladies and gentlemen, I don't talk the industry down. Never has talk been so cheap when it comes from the lips of those have beens and opposition MPs. And they're not doing us any good. They have the same basic speech. Blame Bainimarama and blame the government, blame anyone but themselves. But it is left to us to take up the challenge, and we intend to meet it. We are ending decades of neglect and mismanagement in the sugar cane industry. We are ending decades of racial politics, decades of manipulation by opportunistic politicians over ordinary cane farmers. My government is working as hard as it can to turn our industry around and guarantee its future. Guarantee your future and the future of your families and friends.
Prime Minister, agora lesi na waktu gua bina walir. Mai soli chuna ngonu gua merong keman terong cuki ne sona ka teratu na membro ya member kiri. Sagaya tu chua ni biya ne kali mendisingan belum na kenangan re mele tiga udah tindo and a joint venture system ko bagaimana research mo. Na nunggu taru ndo sarang ni sa umuyao. Na ndava sarang batan ni sarwi yawa na banu kimen chuki na ana kaulenga chaga tatu.
Ya, au tuntunga na kina. Erona bitan mo sirin betul lewa. Betul sirin lewa na sauni erona ni tando. Betul sirin lewa na sauni erona ndreva truck. Sana bato tunga biran, na bato tunga biran do tando na sau ralaba kami kenda. Napital na ito tando sa ukir ito cuma na komisioner ni Polbibesu na bibigyan na ito na Polbibesu sa tuloy Minister ng Economy Bagino ni Ruas na Misini ni Musndo sana kira sana cukup Permanent Secretary orang na Misini Musndo ba karon ro sampai tak ketok badai baba wah namun orang rata tok na Napital na Musndo Musdo tarong abu kici gulu biar usah mendong tani ko average ko renda bitam no tagai bila na renda bikor na kata na takap sana fundraising yo ni bitam no nitrat ini boleh jadi satu kan ko kondo na bitam no ko pun juga me bako puti gele lom tanya lambangi na lam kelen subsidize tangan makantu Nani bolu tuso muna mesa ni bodo lindo.
We're extracting gravel from our river just beside it, and the lane, the road, cane access road is just out of the river into our cane access roads. Now my question is, how the Roads Council has given a blanket approval or fixed a blanket rate for all the rate for the contractors. For example, if they carry the gravel for about 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, 5 kilometers, the rate is same as they would be graveling the road beside the river. I don't think that's fair, and it's a waste of funds by government, and we could be, I think something should be looked into this.
Kane Roads Council for Kane Access Roads could be improved. The issues have been raised. We've also had issues that have been raised where in certain areas, because somebody knows somebody in FSC, they get their own personal road done up. Some farmers collaborate with each other and get theirs done up, so there are issues. And that's one of the main problems that we're going to address in the next couple of months. We agree with you, okay?
To decide for our future. Dear farmers, we should be very thankful to the PM for his personal involvement and resource. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure that we are welcome.
September, application